Okay, and we are 12:02. I would like to be respectful of everyone's time. So I would like to first introduce myself. My name is Mary Angie Carbeles. I am the program manager at the Houston Association of Realtors under the Professional Development Department. Welcome to today's webinar, The 5 Building Blocks to Dominating Your Marketplace. Before I formally introduce today's subject matter expert, I would like to remind everyone that you won't be on camera. This webinar is not for CE credit, so we won't be able to hear you or see you, but please make sure that you know where the chat is located because we are going to have Q&A throughout the whole session, and Darren will be answering all the questions that you may have. So make sure you know where the chat is and that you're interacting with us. Today's session is being recorded. I will be sharing the recording once it's ready via email, the same email that you used to register for today's program. So make sure that you are paying attention to that. There's a lot of information that is going to be sent out via email to you. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce today's subject matter expert. In his 3 decades in the industry, Darren Campbell has personally closed in excess of $4 billion in transactions as an investment real estate agent, while also achieving great success as an international recognized speaker, trainer, mentor, and coach. Now, Darren, it's an absolute pleasure to open the virtual floor to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Mary Ann. How are you, everybody? Good to see you. Glad everybody's here and excited. Hopefully you're excited. I'm excited. I'm coming to you from sunny Los Angeles, California. I know how much you Texans love people from Los Angeles, so I just wanted to let you know where I'm at. And wanted to say thank you for having me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being with me. Give me a little bit of your time today because I think we're going to be able to share some valuable information that hopefully you could apply to your business today, tomorrow. And what it is that I find that successful agents, or the most successful agents that I've been able to coach and help grow, they share the same kind of methodologies. And some of that I've helped them develop and help them implement. And that's kind of my specialty. So as Mary Ann said, I've been in the business. This is year number 31 for me. And the reason that that's important is that this is the beginning of cycle number 3 that I've seen in my career. And that's important for you to know. So otherwise, the 31 years just tells you that I started in this business when I was 5 years old. But the fact is, we're approaching the third cycle, the beginning of the third cycle in my career since I started in the business. So what I think the opportunity for you to do when we're in this type of environment, when we see a change coming, when we know that change is in the wind, that it's an opportunity for us to reboot, because you probably should start thinking about shifting and changing the way you do business because the market is changing. And I don't know how many of you can see and feel and anticipate that this market is in fact changing, but it is for sure. And I'm not just talking about in Southern California. I do business pretty much all over the country because I am an investor as well as a realtor. And so we buy properties. I invest in properties all over the country, and I am seeing this shift all over the country. And then in major markets, in major regions, Texas being one of them, California being another one of them, major regions are being impacted even more than the average territory. So we, as real estate agents in significant regions where significant activity happens every year, we have to really be prepared, in my opinion, to make a pivot. And I'm going to share with you what I think the best methodologies are to make that pivot so that you're prepared for what I think is the next 2 to 3 years of a different type of marketplace than what we've seen. So what I put together for the real estate agents that I coach, and what I have seen that works, is to create this, to create a system that puts these 5 components into play in your marketplace. Because I feel like if you're missing any one of these components, your business won't quite be hitting on all cylinders, if you will. And so I call them the 5 building blocks to dominating your marketplace. And these are more important today than they have been in the past 13 years or so, because for the past 13 years, I know you've seen this in Texas, just like we've seen in Southern California, that you didn't necessarily have to be so focused on the particulars because business was so robust. You could almost fall out of bed and you get 10 offers on every listing. Well, that is changing. And I know you're seeing it change. And it's changing to the extent that it is making many, many real estate agents struggle in their businesses. And what we want to do is thrive during these times. And what I think is it's the best opportunity to thrive because business is a little more difficult than it has been. So here in Southern California, over the last 12 to 13 years, if you got a listing and you priced it anywhere near fair pricing, you get 7, 8, 9 offers or more. We even ran through a period of time where we were averaging 20 plus offers. We were averaging a period, there was a period of time when we were getting all cash, non-contingent offers as the opening bid. So that period of time has shifted. Now the number of offers we average is less than half of what it was only a year ago. Now what's responsible for that? We've had 10, 11 interest rate increases since last July 1st. That's 11 increases in 13 months. That's a lot. That shifts. That's changed the buyer mentality. It's changed the seller mentality. Sellers are no longer absolutely in control and dictating all the action. The game has changed. And so I want to tell you more about how you can build your business to become recession proof. We are in a mini recession. Don't let anybody tell you we're not. A lot of pundits, a lot of gurus want to tell you that we're not really in a recession. There is no recession. Real estate is still robust. Of course, there's plenty of real estate being transacted. It's just being transacted in a slightly different way. I just want to prepare you, like I do the people that I coach personally, for what is to come. And if you play this the right way, you can double your business, and while other people are going out of the business. I just read a statistic that approximately 30,000 agents, active real estate agents, shifted their practice from full-time real estate brokerage to part-time just in the last 60 days. That tells you right there, people are changing. I know 2 real estate agents personally, I don't coach them, but 2 that have actually taken jobs in corporate banking places as real estate acquisition people. But think about that. If somebody has decided to go and take a salary instead of the current business that we are in, on a commission-based salary, that tells you that some people are nervous about what's going on, right? I don't think you need to be nervous. I think you need to be proactive. I think you need to become active. I think you need to become deliberate about your business. Let me show you a little bit how I think you should do that. Okay, so let's go through. Hopefully you guys can see my screen, and we are going to, if I can get my slideshow to work, we will go through the presentation. My slideshow. 1 second. I'm not the tech guy, you guys. I know very little about technology, which is why you'll be happy to see where I'm talking. If a non-techie like me can practice the way I practice and thrive, then you can do it too. Here we go. All right, so the 5 building blocks. Let me share with you what those 5 building blocks are. The first is branding. I think there should be an extreme emphasis on you creating your own brand. And if you do that, you become a recognizable entity, a recognizable name. It's like you wanna become the McDonald's of a particular area. You wanna have a brand that's synonymous with quality, that's synonymous with service, that's synonymous with expertise. And if you establish that the right way, then you'll find that your work will become easier and easier. I'll tell you more about how to do that as we go. Next building block is the word niche. Some people say niche. I say niche. You need to have a niche, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't, I'm going to show you or tell you some things about how to do it. But the most successful agents, I'm talking about the agents at the very, very top of the food chain, the $1 million a year agents and up that I personally coach, 100% of them have a niche. And they can tell you exactly what their niche is. They can tell you exactly what they specialize in. So I'll help you with that. If you don't have one, I believe it's high time that you get one. And that is synonymous across the board with every real estate agent I know that makes, even at the $500,000 level and up, every one of them, shockingly, has a niche, an area of specialization. I recommend you get one. If you don't know how to get one, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. Lead capture is probably the most important element of a sustainable, manageable, successful real estate practice. Lead capture. You know, we need in this world, we need a flood of leads. We need tons of leads to work. And a lot of people have survived in the past. Kind of old school was leads were generated systematically, but kind of slowly. We're in a different world today. There are many more filters on trying to keep us out. And so I want you to build a lead capture machine, something that consistently brings in 5, 10, 20 leads a day, a week, a month. Because a lot of times people have not spent energy on lead capture. And if you don't, you're going to fall behind, because people that know how to use technology are taking advantage of lead capture, and they're working 10 leads while you're working 1. And that's how you fall behind real fast. And the beautiful thing about today in technology is automation of your business is something that you can implement relatively easily. Even a low-tech guy like me can create some automation in their business. And you combine automation and lead capture, it means your business is working for you 24 hours a day. And that is going to keep you out in front. If you're a kind of person who, like the way I started out, you know, I knew I was going to work 12 or 14 hours a day, but the only leads that came in were the ones that I generated personally. Well, the beautiful thing about technology is that now you can build automated systems that bring in leads while you sleep. And that's what we all need to plug into our business. Otherwise, the people that have mastered this concept are going to get 90% of the leads, and you're going to be stuck fighting for your piece of the last 10%. So automation combined with lead capture is key to your next few years in the business. And then the cultivation of those leads. See, getting leads is one task. That's beautiful. We all need to do it. But cultivation of leads is where more money is lost in this real estate world than anywhere else. You get a lead, that person's not necessarily ready to make a deal today, and you drop the ball and don't follow up with them properly. See, I can't tell you how many millions of dollars I probably left on the table for the failure to cultivate previous leads from the past, people from the past. So what you need to do is be in the cultivation business and have some systems put into place that help you cultivate all of the leads that aren't quite ready to do something today. So who is this training for? I just like to always answer that question, because some people go, they hear, oh my God, he's talking about $1 million agents, and he's talking about, you know, he's closed all these billions. This is for my training today, is for seasoned agents who are ready to level up. You make 100 grand, you make 150 grand a year, but you want to get to that $500,000 level. This is for you. And then newer agents who want to build their business correctly the first time. See, a lot of us jump into the business, we get in, we're lured by the potential of good money, making a living, and we kind of do this, what they call track shoe brokerage, where it's just, you know, you hope and pray for a deal, you want to call your friends and family, and you get a deal here and a deal there, but it's not consistent. So you live on this roller coaster. I can't tell you how many agents I know that get in the business for the right reason. They close a deal or two, but their business, you know, you make 80 grand this year, and you make 40 grand the next year, you make 150 grand the next year, you make nothing the next year. I want to get you off of that roller coaster. So the idea is to build your business correctly the first time. And if you've been in the business a while, let's reboot your business so that it has sustainability going forward, and that you can continue in this business and build something that one day you could even sell. And I actually have helped someone structure their business, and they just recently sold the business. They got a 7-figure check, and they get a piece of that business from the person they sold it to forever. Amazing. It was a great deal. Now they're happily semi-retired. So I want you to build your business that way. So hopefully today I'm going to help you talk about how to identify your ideal client. Okay, that's working with the people that we're best at working with. You know, not every client is for every person. And the minute you can admit that, the better you get at this business. And then you want to attract that type of client, your ideal client. We call them an avatar, your ideal avatar. Who's your avatar? You want to attract that client like a magnet. You want 100 of those clients showing up at your door, so to speak, every month. Imagine that. And then you want to be able to engage and educate that client. And then you want them eventually to rely on you for all of their real estate needs. So if you build your business properly, in my opinion, and you establish yourself properly, everyone you know that does business with you will reach out to you for any and all of their real estate needs. Now think about that for a second. If you build it properly, so right now, I have a very nice core group of clients who will not make a real estate move without me. And that's whether they want to buy a vacation home, that's whether they want to buy an apartment building, that's whether they want to move up and buy a bigger house. Regardless of what the real estate need or quest is, they call me first. That doesn't mean I'm going to always broker the transaction. I might refer them to a friend of mine who brokers in Texas, right? I actually have recently had somebody say they were going to relocate to Texas. I know you guys love to hear that. Another LA person moving to Texas, but they are relocating to Texas. But they came to me and said, what do we do? And I called up a buddy of mine in Dallas and referred them. And now they're going to go buy a home from him in Dallas. But the idea is they called me first. Why? Because I am their lifelong real estate consultant for all things real estate. I'll get a referral fee from that nice transaction in Dallas. I'll sell their home here and everybody's happy. So you want your people to come to rely on you like that. If you build your business the right way and you nurture your clients the right way, that's exactly what will result. Now, if you implement the basics of what I'm teaching here, what you can expect is you're going to learn from me that we should use technology to get a steady flow of leads on a regular basis. Technology is the ultimate leverage. Guess what, guys? And technology is relatively cheap. It's cheap to use, and it's the ultimate leverage. You can talk to 1,000 people at a time using today's technology, and you can do it very relatively inexpensively. And then what you want to do is you want to create an evergreen system that works even while you're asleep or even while you're on vacation. You want to use technology, and it's there, it's waiting for you to use so that you can generate leads around the clock. Because what you'll learn soon or quickly is that clients need you when they need you. They don't need you when it's convenient for you. They need you in the moment they need you. And that might be at 2 a.m. You know, I can't tell you how many people told me that they were up Googling or Zillowing houses for sale in the middle of the night because they needed to move. And that was the time that was convenient. I have heard maybe 10 stories like that in the last 2 years of people who are like up in the middle of the night. Well, guess what? My ads and my marketing is alive and awake 24/7. And so you need to build your lead gen system so that you can take in leads even when you're not there to answer the phone. And then I want to teach you how to rapidly grab market share and dominate your market. Now be careful think about that carefully when I say it. Grab market share and eventually dominate your market. Not dominate the state of Texas, not dominate the world, dominate your market. It's important that you hear those words carefully because we're going to talk specifically about your market. All right. And so the common frustrations that I hear from real estate agents, they call me up and I say, well, why would you want to be coached by me? What's your problem? And these are the most consistent answers to those questions. 1, low fees. People want to negotiate their commissions, and they find themselves compromising and lowering their commissions just to get the business. And so that's a big frustration of many realtors. And so there are ways to overcome that. I'll tell you a few of them as we talk today. Consistent lead generation. I think you guys would probably be shocked that most real estate agents that I speak to don't have a system for consistent lead generation. They have to go, oh my God, I haven't lead generated this week. Let me go knock on some doors, or let me jump on the phones and dial somebody. And they don't have a plan or consistency behind their lead generation. And what's another problem? Poor feedback, less than 1% for mailers. Mailers are expensive, ladies and gentlemen, but people find that they're becoming less and less effective. Snail mail and postcards and letters in the mail and yellow paper, yellow pad notes, and fake handwritten notes are getting less and less responses. And so people find that they're spending a lot of money and not getting the bang that they used to get. Why? Because there are so many different ways that people are being approached, but that's no longer unique. People feel like they're undervalued. Well, our colleagues have made us an undervalued profession, meaning poor service, poor delivery of services has made real estate agents kind of have a bit of a cheap reputation. I want you to turn that around. I want to show you how to turn that around because for every one great real estate agent, I bet you can name 5 terrible ones, 5 who aren't doing their business, 5 who aren't communicating properly with their clients. And that's who gives us as a profession a pretty bad reputation. And you could dispel that myth. You could turn that around and become the real estate agent that people go, oh my God, I never met anybody like that. That's the greatest real estate agent I ever knew. And that's how I want you to be perceived in your marketplace. We'll talk about that really fast. And then finally, time management. Most real estate agents feel like they don't have enough hours in the day. They feel like if they got 3 escrows, they're overwhelmed and they got to drop everything to manage those escrows. Well, we got to get you past that, because in order to thrive in this world, in order to become a high 6 or 7-figure realtor, you got to be able to manage 8, 9, 10 escrows at a time. And there are systems that you need to use to do that. One second. So in order to do this, I think just at the core, at the fundamental base of all of this, there's a required mindset shift that we all need to have. And it involves these 4 things that I think you need to adjust or prepare or be thinking about at all times. So number 1, you got to have a solid business plan, like a real business plan, not just, hey, I got to go and hustle for some deals, or I got to go find a client or 2. You need a plan, a business plan that you implement, that you systematically stick with over the long term. Next, you got to know what your dreams and goals are. I find that the most successful agents I know dream in color, ladies and gentlemen. They know where they want to live, even if they're not even close to being able to afford that home. They know where they want to live. They know where they want to travel to. They know their why. They know that they want to launch their kids properly. They know they want to send their kids to private school. They know. All I'm saying is they know what they want. And the people that seem to struggle kind of seem to be floating and not knowing exactly what they want. So they're not really driven by anything. I find that if you got dreams, you got goals, and you're very specific about them, like for instance, all of my coaching students have to do a vision board over Thanksgiving weekend. And they do their vision board for next year. So they write down all their goals. They vision board with pictures and specifics about what they want for the next year, for the coming year. And it's mandatory. And I find that those people that do it, strangely enough, get to their goals and dreams on a much larger percentage than those that don't. And then I think you need to have a certain attitude about money. There are people who kind of hate on those that understand the value of money and understand why it's important to have a lot of it. I'm very unapologetic about making a whole lot of money. You'll never make me feel guilty about making a whole lot of money. And rather than hate people who make more money than me, I celebrate those people and actually try to see if I can take them to lunch, figure out why they're more successful than me. You need to have a certain attitude about money, and there's no guilt about making a whole lot of money. Anybody who thinks money is evil just doesn't understand. Matter of fact, one of my mentors says, anybody who doesn't understand the importance of money hasn't given enough of it away. How about that? I love that, because every mega producer, every multimillionaire I know, every billionaire I know, they're very benevolent. They're very charitable. They give and give and give and implore all their friends to give too. And they know the importance of their money. I can't do a whole lot for you if I haven't done for myself already? There's an attitude about money I want you to have. And then your worth. You need to know what you are worth as a professional. And the thing is, we get paid in proportion to the value we deliver. How can I ask for 7% commission on a listing? Is because by the time I'm done explaining my value to that potential client, they don't object to my commission, no matter what it is, because they know I'm bringing more value to the table than that amount of money that I'm charging them the commission. They look at my commission as fair compensation for what this guy is about to bring to the table. That's the perception your clients ought to have about you. By the time you're done, you walk out of their front door, they go, I'm going to pay her whatever she wants because no one's going to be able to get me what she's going to get. All right. So in branding, I know I'm going fast, everybody, but Amanda's watching the chat box for me, and we'll stop and answer some questions, and I'll answer questions at the end. But I want to power through this because I got a lot of slides and I don't have a lot of time. And so I want to respect your time. So we're going to go fast. I'll give you an opportunity to learn more from me later or learn more from us as we go. And again, this is being recorded. So excuse me if I'm going lightning fast, but that's kind of what I do. So what you want to do in branding, step one is you got to grab people's attention. So you have to establish your expertise. And the number one way of establishing your expertise that I've seen in 31 years is that you have to be the deliverer of great information. Okay, so it's arrogant and it's naive to expect that you're going to call somebody today and they're going to go, okay, come on over, sign the listing. That's not how it works, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. If you're ever lucky enough to call somebody and get a listing the same day you talk to them for the first time, then you need to go play the lottery too, because that's luck. What really establishes you is creating a brand and letting that brand be fueled by spectacular, helpful, valuable information. If you teach people that you are the expert and you become known for being that expert, and people begin to associate you with your expertise. And how do you do that? You give people great information that's useful to them. So information, we'll talk, somebody's going to ask me, I'm sure, what kind of information are you talking about? We're going to get into that. So stick with me. So the step two in the branding process is you have to be consistent and never, ever, ever slow down, meaning never stop. If you're in this is your career. You're in this for 20 years. You're in this for 30 years. So you should never, ever, ever stop promoting the brand. You should never, ever stop disseminating great information. You should never stop messaging your people about what's valuable and informative and useful to them. Don't stop. See, a lot of people make the mistake of spending $10,000 in January on postcards. And they'll spend a bunch of money, but then they don't send any more postcards for the next 6 months. Well, that's not consistency, ladies and gentlemen. That's sporadic. And you don't have a lead problem. You have an obscurity problem. And branding, the purpose of branding is so that people understand who you are. But branding doesn't happen in one fell swoop. Branding is a process. You have to do it over time. You have to do it consistently. And if you do, then you can become a known quantity and your brand will become known. And then step three is you create urgency. And the way you create urgency is you bake it into the information that you give. In other words, you let people know about where we are today and where we were yesterday and how that has changed. And if they have real estate moves on their mind, you have to tell them why it's compelling and profitable to make that move now. Imagine this. Someone you talked to, a buyer you talked to just a year and a half ago was thinking about buying, right? And you let them not buy, you let them delay because they're like, well, prices are going up and I'm going to wait till prices go down. So the mistake in letting them not buy a year and a half ago is that the market changed. Interest rates a year and a half ago were in the 3s. Today, interest rates are in the high 7s. I just saw somebody lock in a 7.9% interest rate. So did that person who waited save money, even if they pay a little less for the house? They did not. Over the long term, they're going to end up paying more money, and they're going to pay the worst part of the more money, which is more interest. So you have to take today's market conditions and you have to incorporate why it's important that someone make a move today. Everybody I talk to today needs to do something today, or at least I need to give them a compelling reason to do something today. And if not today, sooner rather than later. See, we're in the business of doing business with people who are ready to do business with us. A lot of real estate agents think that the goal of your life is to nurture 1,000 people. Really, the goal in your life is to get 5, 6, 7, 10 people who are ready to do something into escrow. That's really the goal. So you need to always have an urgent component to your message. Lace every message with an urgent position. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you have to make it easy for them to respond to you. Now, the internet has just created that environment. Someone can just click reply and talk to you. After you can click send and talk to 10,000 of them at one time. I don't know why we haven't, as real estate agents, as an industry, we haven't grasped this concept. Leverage is greater than it's ever been because you can set up an email campaign. You can click send and you can speak to 5, 10, 20,000 people at one time. And then they can easily, any of them can click reply to this beautiful thing called email, which happens to be free. Why we all don't talk to 100,000 people a week on email, I don't know. But reply is free. And if you give somebody consistent branding, you create urgency, and you consistently speak to them in a manner where they can just click reply and say, okay, yes, I see all your emails every week, and it's time because we're being transferred to Tennessee and we need to sell our house. If you don't make it that easy for people, then the next real estate agent that shows up is going to steal your business. And I cannot stand, the worst feeling in the world to me is finding out about a transaction that should have been mine and somebody else cashed my $50,000 paycheck. That's the worst feeling in the world to me. So we have to set you up so that you're ever present. You need to be omnipresent. And in your practice, I wanted to tell you guys what the biggest complaint. We survey a lot of people, if you can't tell. And what we want to do is we want to tell you the things that are the biggest detriments to your success. And so the 3 biggest complaints that sellers have is, number 1, they feel like their realtor didn't show the property enough. Here's the sidebar to that. I don't think it's the realtors didn't show the property enough. The realtors didn't inform the sellers about how many times and how often they were showing it. Communication. It was communication. The next complaint, my realtor didn't advertise it enough. Well, again, if the property is put into the proper channels, your property will be on 50 or 60 websites. Your listing will be on all kinds of websites. And then if you do just this much, you can do paid advertising and broadcast your listings all over social media. And you illustrate how many views and how many looks and how many clicks a person's property got. And they'll never say you didn't advertise it enough, because you can say, look, Mr. Seller, we have 41,000 impressions. 41,000 people got access to your listing last week. They'll never say you didn't advertise it enough. And then, oh, the biggie, the real big one, that's the fuel for all of it. My realtor didn't communicate with me enough. Now, whether you set up an automated way to speak to that client or call that client twice a week, you gotta communicate. The biggest detriment to real estate agents' relationships with their clients is that the client said they just didn't communicate enough. And you know that feeling where you've had the listing for 63 days and there's no more activity going on, so you don't want to call the seller, so you avoid calling and speaking to the seller? That's the biggest detriment to your relationship with your client. Why do clients not come back? Why do clients not relist? Why do clients not extend the listing? Because the realtor's not communicating enough. If you simply communicate, they understand that the market has changed. They understand that they might be a little bit overpriced. But if you don't communicate on a regular basis, they'll blame you. And I want you to avoid that. It's very important. So it's important that you remember these three biggest objections to why people feel like their realtor underperform. Make sure you don't do these. So here's a picture of that's not me, but there's a picture of my business and my business plan back in the good old days, the hard way, doing things the hard way. Cold calling. I used to cold call, ladies and gentlemen. I used to cold call 4 to 5 hours a day, every day. This is in the 90s, right? This is how I was taught to launch my business. And then door knocking. I was never big on door knocking, but I knew some people who door knocked 2-3 hours a day, and that's how they built their business. Then there was the mailer. Now, this was me also. I was spending $4,000 to $5,000 a month doing mailers, right? And then I took a course that was called, I think, by referral only. Their whole big thing was you got to bug everybody you know for their referrals. Call them up and say, who are the 5 people you know that need my services, and just dial your Rolodex or your database and bug all your friends. And then working 16 hours a day, how many real estate agents do you know? Even the most successful ones back in the day. I know one who averaged about 18 hours a day, and she built a good business. She just didn't build a good life. She worked harder than you're supposed to have to work, longer than you're supposed to have to work. I got an interesting story. The hardest working real estate agent I've ever known is a guy who averaged 15, 16 hours a day, saw very little of his kids, but he was going to become, a wealthy real estate agent and enjoy it all later. And guess what? I went to his funeral about 2 years ago, and he never, ever stopped to live life or smell the roses. And I kind of feel like, I don't even know if his kids really felt like they knew him that well. So you don't want to be that. You want to have a life. And there's a way to have a life. There's a way to make a lot of money, be very successful in this business, and have a life. And then all the ways I just told you have about a 1% success rate. So that means, so how many calls do you have to make to get your first transaction or listing? I used to have to make, here it is, I used to have to make 992 cold calls to find one legitimate lead. 992 phone calls to get one lead. And if you're willing to do that, it might still work, but that's really old school. That's really the old way. So now I think here we are, flash forward to today. I think there's an easier way. I think there's a smarter way. And I want to coach you, like I coach high-end agents right now, to choose to do the easier way, highly leveraged. And let me show you how that looks. First, I believe you need to choose a lucrative niche, a farm, if you will. Now, not farm in the traditional real estate sense where you have to, just choose a neighborhood or a geography. You can absolutely do that. But niches look different. They come in a lot of different packages. It can be the geographical farm that you've known and heard about for years. And some of you, I know for a fact, absolutely farm particular neighborhoods. But there are other niches that aren't necessarily geographic farms. There are niches that are client specific, client type specific. I'll tell you a story about that in a little bit. There are niches that are product type. So for instance, at one period in my career, I focused on apartment buildings only. There are people who focus strictly on certain demographics, meaning certain types of clients. We'll talk about that in a little bit. There are people who specialize in certain income categories of clients. And so you need to choose a niche. You need to farm that niche, but it's not necessarily just geography we're talking about. So we can talk more about that in a bit. And then whatever that niche or that farm is, it is imperative. This is the most important thing I can tell you today. It's imperative that you establish yourself as an authority in that niche. Let me say it again. You need to establish yourself as an authority of or in that niche. And when you do that, you squash all the objections about that make real estate agents like commodities. This makes you not a commodity. This makes you special. This makes you different. This makes you unquestionable when it comes to fees, when it comes to, your authority, when it comes to competition, people who want to compete. for the business. This eliminates that. And the other thing is, my favorite thing is to have somebody not even blink when I tell them my commission is 6%, sometimes 7%. And why is because I've properly established myself as an expert that no one can duplicate what I'll do for them. So for instance, like just as a generic example, does anybody who needs surgery, let's say you need heart surgery, and you've been referred to the heart surgery absolute specialist, world renowned, best guy in the world at this particular type of heart surgery that you need. Now, when you go and interview with that guy, do you negotiate his fee? Like, okay, I want to use you. I want you to be my surgeon, but could you do it for 80,000 instead of 100,000? No, you wouldn't do it. You know why? Because he's an unquestioned authority, and you want his expertise, and you want the value that he brings, and you don't care what it costs. Of course, we all have insurance, and that's how that normally happens. But just as a raw example, you don't question the specialist. That's how you have to become and build your real estate practice, so that you become an unquestioned, unchallenged specialist. Now, the easy way also includes the technology I was telling you about. You want to build a funnel. Now that a lot of people like kind of their eyes gloss over when I say build a funnel. They're like, oh my God, here we go with the technology. It's not as complicated as you think. And that is the 24/7 marketing concept that eliminates the need to ever have to cold call again, to never have to door knock again. You can absolutely, if I can do it, you can do it. You can absolutely build a funnel that attracts people to you. And when we used to cold call, I would tell people, we cold call, we cold call, we cold call. We reach out to people until they begin reaching back to us, right? Well, the same goes for a funnel. You build a funnel, you reach out to thousands of people who fit your demographic, fits your avatar, your client profile, and then they start reaching back out to you when it's their time to move forward, when it's their time to sell, when it's their time to buy. That's what your funnel will create for you on a 24/7 basis. I used to cold call 4 or 5 or 6 hours a day. And then when I hung up the phone and moved on to something else, the marketing was over. That was it. Today, you can build something that lives and breathes for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you don't do that, you're behind. If you don't do that, you're already a dinosaur. You got to become somebody whose business is open for business 24/7 so that buyers and sellers raise their hands or call your phone or email you on the day it's time for them to do business. Does that make sense? And then once you're doing that in an efficient way, there's a certain level of mastery you achieve. So for instance, in my farm, as a dominant player in my particular niche, I get to go to anybody that's a for sale by owner and show them how I'm dominant in this particular niche. And it absolutely can help you convert every for sale by owner by convincing them quickly that they're a rookie, they're an amateur, they're trying to sell on their own. And here this expert is who dominates this arena. I'm crazy if I don't give him the listing. And I can prove that unequivocally and say it confidently, Mr. Seller, you're crazy for not letting me sell that property because I can do it so much more efficiently than you. And I can net more dollars to you even after paying my commission. That's what an expert gets to do with confidence. I know everybody thinks they know how to convert a for sale by owner, but what's really the compelling reason? And a for sale by owner will go, yeah, oh, you're right. I'm crazy for trying to do this myself. This is what you do, specifically what you do. Same with expires. I laugh when people expire listings in my territories because I go right behind them to meet with that seller after that listing expires. And I go, this is why your property didn't sell. This is why I sold the 2 or 3 down the street. And this is why you should be working with me and no one else. And guess what? You get 50, 60% kill ratio on those because you have a compelling story to tell, because you have an expertise. Next thing is those people, you give such impeccable service that you can get referrals for life out of those people. Remember I told you want to be the absolute go-to person for people? That's how you do it. You have to dominate something and then people refer to you. People tout you to their friends. They go, no, I have a testimony. I sold a property for a client here in Santa Monica, California. We sold it with 17 offers. We sold it 90,000 above the asking price. And that person had a best friend who around the corner who was about to sell their property. And they had a family realtor who's done all their real estate for 10 years, 12 years, whatever it was. And this guy told her, he's like, that's great. But if you don't interview with Darren Campbell, we're not friends anymore because he's the best in the business. And just give him 15 minutes and then you can just choose which realtor you want. Well, I met with her. I absolutely, she listed on the spot. I had proposed to sell her property for about $100,000 more than her family realtor had suggested. And we ended up selling that property for an additional $110,000 above that. And needless to say, I'm her realtor for life now. So when you practice the business the right way, you get the referrals by default. I had no idea I was about to get that referral, and it ends up being a $2.4 million transaction from a referral. That's the way your business ought to operate. And then inside of our open house, there's a way, in my opinion, every open house you do, you ought to get 3 new clients out of it. I call it the 1 to 3 system. Every open house should generate 3 new clients for you. So if you look at that, you'll look at open houses as a business tool, a marketing tool, a prospecting tool. If you set it up the right way and map it the right way and then build up the hype the right way, you get a flood of people, and many of those people will be what I call orphans. Those are people who don't have a real estate agent. And you should get 2 or 3 new clients out of every open house. That's why you and your team should personally be doing your open houses, in my opinion. I don't think other companies, other teams, other agents ought to be handling your open houses. Somebody on your team ought to be handling those open houses because a whole lot of orphans come through there, and that's a whole lot of potential revenue in your pocket. And then under the umbrella of mastery, I'm just giving you guys the tenets of mastery, the language of sales. Do you know how many of us have never been to any kind of sales training? I don't know why, but somehow people think that taking the real estate exam and passing the test automatically qualifies us to be top level salespeople. Sales is a specific set of skills, ladies and gentlemen, and it applies to 100 different professions and industries, but it's a separate set of skills. And unfortunately, there's not enough real estate sales training. And so what I have to do with agents when they come to me and they want to jump from 200,000 a year to 750,000 a year, I really have to train them in sales, selling. What is the language of sales? What do you say to somebody to make them go, okay, well, all right, let's go. I'm ready today. And how do you get past it when somebody goes, oh, I got to think about it? How do you get past it when somebody says, oh, I'm going to go home and talk about it to my spouse? There are ways to convert that person right there on the spot and get them to sign before you walk out the door. But most of us haven't been taught. We haven't been trained. And so there are specific language of sales techniques and tactics that we all ought to work on every day. And even if I'm not the guy who coaches you to do it, you need to do it. Anyway, so let's talk about that. So first and foremost, you got to ask yourself, you're at work today, you came here, you want to find some new business, but you have to think about this intelligently. Only 5% of the people on average in any given neighborhood are actually in the market today. And these might be Southern California statistics. I don't know. I have to check with my team, but just the numbers are similar to this. So just take this to heart. Only 5% of the people that you can talk to in a day are potentially in the market. That means 95% of the people you touch or talk to don't have a need for you. And guess what? When you don't need a dentist, you don't want to hear from a dentist, do you? I don't have a toothache, so I don't have time to talk to a dentist. Real estate agents don't realize that. Only 5% of the people are in the mood or in the mode to do any business with you. So you got to touch a lot of people because only 5 out of 100 even need you. And then how many of those 5 out of 100 got a relative that's a real estate agent? How many of those 5% are devoted to another real estate agent? So if you think about it, you need to touch a lot of people every day because 5% are in the market now, 20% are in the market over the next year or so, and 75% are not in the market at all and aren't even thinking about real estate. So you got to think about how many people are you approaching every day because 95% don't need you. Wow, a lot of people don't get that. And so as a result of the fact that most people don't need us, the need to become famous in a niche is that much greater. You want to know why? Because if those 5% are in the market today, the 95% are not, then you're counting on getting lucky to find someone in the 5% today, unless you become famous in your niche, famous in your farm. And then when that person decides it's time for them to make a move, they call you. So I want to work so hard to have my business and my brand so prevalent that when they get transferred on their job and find out they have to move, or they decide it's time to downsize because the kids are going to college, or they decide we just had our third kid, we need a fourth bedroom, they call you. If you haven't built your business the right way, the next realtor who reaches out to them, or the first one on Google, is going to get their business instead of you. So you got to build something that makes you the go-to. And so here's the idea. To become famous in your niche, first of all, you have to have a niche. And many of you don't have a niche. You just think, oh, I'm a Texas realtor. Well, that's generic, ladies and gentlemen. Even I'm a Houston realtor. That's generic. It's too generic. You have to become more specific. So you have to build your personal brand. And inside of that niche, you have to become omnipresent. I love that word. Omnipresent. That means I'm everywhere. Do you know that Facebook has this beautiful thing called retargeting? So that if you find your audience, you can stay in their feed all the time. You can keep popping up. And they try to figure out, well, why is that Darren Campbell guy showing up in my feed every day? They don't know why or how. They just know that he does. So guess what? 6 months, 8 months, 9 months later, when it's their turn to buy the next property, or their turn to invest in some real estate, or their turn to get transferred to Tennessee, they call that guy that keeps popping up in the feed. Isn't that beautiful? I don't have to get lucky and call them on the day they get transferred. I'm omnipresent. I keep getting retargeted. They keep seeing me, and my brand keeps getting burnt into their brain, and then my phone rings. Now, how about that? How many of you have your phone ring 2 to 3 times a week with somebody saying, hey, it's time to list my property, come on over? I'll tell you this funny little story. I used to do this with mailers, and it didn't really become successful until I specifically targeted a group and made sure they got a piece of mail from me every month. But I had this funny phone call. I'll never forget. This grumpy old dude calls me up and says, are you the one that keeps sending to me these GD mailers, these postcards? I go, yes, sir. I'm sorry if they're annoying to you. We could take you off the list. He goes, yeah, well, I'm really sick of them, but I need to sell the property, so come on over and get the listing. So I went and got a $1.1 million listing from that guy because I pissed him off with all my mailers. Well, guess what? That's what you want to do. My mailers annoyed him until he needed me. Well, you can do the same thing in a little less annoying fashion with the internet, with social media. Ladies and gentlemen, these are free tools that have made us leveraging kings and queens. You got to use them the right way and establish yourself as the authority, as the absolute expert in a particular thing. You need to step back and look at your business and say, am I a generalist or am I a specialist? Do I practice general medicine or am I a heart surgeon? Look at your business and make that decision. And I'll tell you a little bit about my particular niche in this current upcoming recession. By the way, we're already in a recession, if you didn't notice. A lot of people won't know we're in one until 6 months from now. But we're in a recession, ladies and gentlemen. And so what that means is I have pivoted to a recessionary type niche. And what I focus on right now is distressed properties, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures. Do you know the number of foreclosure notices is up 400% since interest rates started going up? That's 13 months, 400% increase in notices of default and foreclosure. And so what I have done with my personal business is I have pivoted, and now my niche is in pre-foreclosures and distressed property. I also happen to invest in a lot of those kinds of properties. So what I have developed is a mentorship, a coaching program for people who want to become experts in distressed properties. Now, this course is actually built for people who want to actually be investors and they want to invest in foreclosures and pre-foreclosures and those kinds of things. That's what my investment business buys every day. We buy distressed properties. And we just bought one in Las Vegas a week ago. And so I created this course because everything that I learned to do, I then turned into a training or a teaching. So I've created a course in my Recession Riches Academy, and it's teaching people like yourself who want to learn the distressed properties game and want to focus on it. This mentorship, this coaching program teaches you exactly how to do it. Now, the interesting thing about it is I built it for investors, right? The crazy thing about it is it has resulted in lots of new listings for my brokerage practice. Why is that? It's because people are in default, so they need to sell in many cases. And number two, since the run up in prices and values, they all have equity. So I don't know how many of you were in the business in 07, 08. There were lots of defaults and foreclosures back then, but nobody had equity. They were upside down. So we would have to go and try to do short sales. So my niche in 07, 08 was short sales because people were upside down and I'd have to go to the bank and negotiate, and it was a great fuel for my business. Well, today, people have equity, but they only owe this much, but they're still in default. And many of those people will sell to me and my investment partners, and that's so we get a good deal because we can buy a property for below market. But secondarily, some of those people go, well, I want retail for the house, and so can you sell it for me? And I'll list that property. So being a distressed property specialist has created two streams of income opportunity for me. And this mentorship teaches you how to do it too, should you choose to. It's really built for people who want to invest, who want to own property. And the reason I focus on this is because this next recession, the next couple of years, is going to result in hundreds of thousands of defaults. And even people with equity default. The guy in Las Vegas, why was I able to buy his property at 200,000 below market? He lost his job. He was in default. He hadn't made a payment for almost 6 months, maybe more than 6 months. And he was out of time. His property was about to get foreclosed on that week. Why somebody waits till the very last second, I don't know, but that's not my problem. It was too late for me to list it for him, but he was willing to sell it, so we bought it. In a similar case, the guy still had plenty of time and plenty of equity, so he listed the property with us, and we got it sold, got him out of foreclosure. New buyer got a good deal. Everybody's happy. So if you want to know where I'm taking my business this next 2 years, how we're going to make our next several $1 million, it's in distressed properties, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, notices of default, notices of trustee sales, auctions, bankruptcies. That is where I think the next brilliant opportunity is. My mentor, a guy that I follow, I don't know if he knows I follow him or not, but his focus for the last 2 cycles, and now about to be the third, is he goes and buys thousands, not hundreds, thousands of discounted properties that are in default. So I first watched him do this in 1995, 96, when the RTC, I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember this, the Resolution Trust Corporation was the government entity that took over the banks, and then they liquidated thousands of properties. Well, this gentleman, he went and bought about 15,000 houses from the RTC, all at like 40 cents on the dollar. Then in 07, 08, he saw a similar pattern. And what he did was, since so many builders were in trouble, he went to the builders and bought all of their unsold inventory. Again, thousands of houses, and put them in a rental pool. So he rented these brand new houses out for cash flow. And now we're going into another recession, and he's got a strategy that is related to foreclosures. And guess what? I'm just trying to be a mini version of him. And I think that's where we're going to be the next couple of years. So if you want to pivot, you want to learn more about how we pivot, how I'm teaching and coaching people how to get into this game, you can email me at info@darrencampbell.com. You see it there on your screen. Amanda will respond to you. It's a mentorship. It's not for everyone. If you're a brand new agent and can't invest in your business, it's not for you. Maybe there's a different way for you to do this. But if you're willing to invest in your business and you want to pivot, and you want to take full advantage of what I think is the hottest niche of them all, reach out to us. We'll get you more information on it. And that's all I'll say about that. But if you don't have a niche, you need to have one. So does the next up, what you want to be so good and so prevalent and so efficient with your niche that you want to leave your appointment with someone. And when you walk out the door, you want them to say to themselves, you know what? I would be an absolute fool not to list with her. That's how strong your marketing and your case for your niche ought to be. They gotta, when you walk out of the door after that listing appointment, it doesn't matter how many realtors they've met, they need to say, are you kidding me? There is no other choice. That's our agent right there. That now, if your marketing doesn't say that, then you need to tweak it. It's time for you to make a shift. The reason most real estate agents marketing and presentations don't speak like that to sellers is because that agent doesn't specialize in that person's product. That agent is not a specialist. They're just another real estate agent. And there's 2 million of us, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you look and smell like every other realtor, guess what? Your chances of getting that business are low, 50-50 at best. But if you're an absolute specialist, imagine if you're a specialist who focuses exactly on what that client is looking to sell or buy, then you win the business and it's easy. But if you try to do too many things, you try to be too much of a generalist, it doesn't work. And you look like everyone else. So the problems that I notice with most realtors marketing, advertising, and sales is it just doesn't work. It's usually a waste of money because they get very little ROI, and the old school stuff doesn't work like it used to. Postcards don't work like they used to, quite frankly. I used to do them all the time. They don't work as well. Emailing, quite frankly, doesn't work as well as it used to. People are numb to their emails. I personally get over 200 emails a day, and I might read 3 or 4 of them. Matter of fact, I ask Amanda to read them and throw them away from me. So emailing is not as effective as it used to be. You need to target people. You need to be specific with people. Also, most old school marketing is under leverage. I used to cold call, and I could probably get in 200 calls a day. Now I got Mojo Dialer. Maybe we can call 400 people a day, but it's still not leveraged enough. There are ways that allow me to talk to thousands of people. See, the old school ways just don't reach enough people. And let's face it, we need more leads than we used to get. We need more leads than we used to get. Because why? Because Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com and all those other things are competing with us for the business. So you got to ask yourself, am I getting the maximum possible return on my marketing? Or am I wasting $3,000 a month sending out postcards that are no longer effective? So what you really have to do is become a superior marketer. And that just means becoming a current day marketer, where the leverage that's out there for us that's cheap is available to you. Am I pushing to talk to more people, to touch more people, to have my brand be seen and heard by more people? So, and then once you do get that person's eyes and ears, and here's where a lot of people leave a lot to be desired. What is the quality of your service? Are you Nordstrom or are you Walmart? I mean, how good is your customer service? Are you communicating on a regular basis with your clients? How good are your systems? I mean, are you collecting every name and number that walks into your open house? Are you going back and retargeting those people? Are you following up with those people? If 45 people came to my open house yesterday, then I should have 45 brand new emails. And I should start marketing to every one of those people who does not have an agent. And then in the future, I should be targeting all 45 of those people with future listings of mine. And so you gotta think about, are your systems actually working? Are you capturing people's information? And then are you disseminating to people what makes you valuable in the marketplace? Not what makes a realtor valuable, but what makes you valuable. What's your unique selling proposition? You ever heard of that? Unique selling proposition? What's yours? Do you have one? Or are you a generic realtor? Are you just 1 out of 2 million? Or are you one in a category of 1? Ooh, interesting. So how are you viewed out there? I want you to think about, how are you viewed? Do you have a brand? Do you have a name? Is your marketing saying something specific? Or does your messaging teach something about, what your business really does? Or are you generic? You can't be, obscurity cannot be your problem. People need to know you and they need to know what you've done, what you do and what you're good for and what value you bring. So here's the 3 rules of marketing. Somebody take a picture of the screen. It's important. 1, you got to have something great to say. Not just, oh, hey, I'm Darren Campbell and I'm number 2 in the region. That means nothing to the consumer. It means nothing to my clients. I have to have something great to say that's valuable to them. Say it clearly so that they understand it and they can digest it, and say it often. Don't just say it once. Sending them that message one time does not get you the business. They need to hear it, need to hear it often. And so I feel like none of us has an excuse, whether you're techie or not. I could build a little funnel or run a Facebook ad. Anybody can, trust me. And that's whether you have a budget or not. My last campaign, Marlon put together my last campaign. I think I spent $5 a day on Facebook ads. And guess what? It resulted in calls. $5 a day, ladies and gentlemen. That's way cheaper than any mailer I've ever done. So I think that the most efficient way for you, I got to go fast here because I'm running out of time, but I think you got to build a funnel. I think you need to build a simple funnel that is your 24-hour marketing machine. You need to gradually get better and more efficient with how you build that funnel and who you target with that funnel. I'm helping agents who want to go from 200 grand to 500 grand build a funnel where leads come in 24/7, and then you follow up fast and you follow up often. So back in the good old days, ladies and gentlemen, selling was simpler because there was low information, low technology. People weren't educated. People, if you got through to the person, you could talk to them and you could pitch them. And competition was minimal. And there were only 5 or 6 major brokerages, and so there weren't that many choices out there. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we got competition everywhere. We're competing with Zillow and Redfin and Trulia and iBuyers and generic discount brokers and 1% brokers and no fee brokers. I know one guy who charges no fee. I don't even understand how he makes any money, but he charges no commission. How do you do that? Anyway, price competition, more filters, more gatekeepers. People know it's us calling. Our name pops up so they can say ignore. So it's tougher today. You got to have systems that work. I'll tell you a quick story about few of my mentors. Now look, mentor number 1, when I first got in the business, he just handed me this big book and said, just start calling people. Find out who wants to buy, who wants to sell. You want to talk about the slow boat to China, ladies and gentlemen? That was it. That was a bad way to build a business. And so I owed that guy 2 transactions. After I closed 2 deals, I went to the number 1 guy in the office and he said, look, you need to have a niche, young man. What is going to be your specialty? You don't just dial that book. That book is everybody in Los Angeles. You need to specialize in a certain type of person in that book, or a certain type of owner, or a certain neighborhood in that book. So that's what I did. I focused on a geographic farm and spoke to only those people in that farm. And I spoke to all those people once a month. Guess what? That worked. My income jumped to about $500,000. And then the next mentor I got, a guy who's very wealthy, came to me and said, what you really need to do, young man, is you need to become so much of an expert that people would feel like they'd be an absolute fool not to give the business to you. That's when I had to level up. I raised my level and I became an absolute expert at my product type and my farm and my client type. And guess what? I had my first $1 million year after implementing that. And let me tell you, it's been a fun ride ever since, because I know exactly who my clients are. They know exactly who I am, and nobody can tell the story that I can tell. That's differentiation, ladies and gentlemen. So look, the first good mentor did this. He had me cold calling, but then he also had me follow that up with mailing. We mailed people a postcard, tell them who I was, we tell them what my expertise was, we told them what my area was, and when they were ready to make a move, they would call me. I'd immediately book that meeting. I'd go give them a CMA, and then we'd sit down and meet and talk about that CMA. And 65% of the time, I'd get a listing. Beautiful, right? That's how I made my first fortune in the real estate brokerage business. And that was old school. That was before email and before the internet and before social media. Then later on, how I had to reinvent myself after technology jumped in, is we figured out rather than cold call, rather than mail, we can run a Facebook ad. Then we figured out that videos on Facebook sell way better than stagnant images. Make a video, talk to your audience, speak to them. We do this to this day. And then here's the formula, ladies and gentlemen. Take a picture of this page. It's very important for your life. This will change your life. You run an ad, offer someone, remember that valuable information I say you should be giving people? You give people an opportunity to get that information from you as the call to action in your ad. You run an ad, it's a video ad, you offer free information that's valuable to those people that you're trying to talk to, and then build a landing page where they have to opt in to get the information. They got to give you their name, their email address at the very least, and sometimes their phone number. We ask for the phone number. We don't make it mandatory, but just so you know, we ask for the phone number as well. But mandatory is the name, email address, and phone number. And then that gives us what? The opportunity to follow up with them, but it also has, they've just raised their hand and said, I'm interested in your information. So now I'm not cold calling people who don't give a crap about me, don't want to hear from me. I'm calling people who raised their hand. Do you know that changes the kill ratio? I call it a kill ratio. That changes the kill ratio to about 70%. About 70% of those people are going to do something. They want to buy, they want to sell, they want to know more, they want to meet me, whatever. But those people are in the action mode. They want to do something. So this is today's farming program. This replaces mailers. This replaces cold calling. This replaces door knocking. Ladies and gentlemen, Marlon can send this to 50,000 people. And if 20 of them raise their hand this week, guess what? We got 20 hot leads. Think about it. Think about it. This is the $1 million makeover that we come to agents and we build for them and changes their life. Like, look, I'm expensive. You might not need me to do it for you, but you could do this for yourself. It's not that difficult. I have never been a techie person. You could do this on your own. We build these pages and send people and funnel people to our landing pages, but you could do this as well. Let me show you, let me just tell you really fast how we do it. We shoot videos. Many times it's just me shooting a video with my phone. Then I offer free reports. So for instance, for people who are interested in, or in default, I send people a book or a white paper about notices of default, foreclosure, avoiding bankruptcy, etc. Because I told you I'm focusing on defaulted people in trouble. And then they opt in and I get their information. I send them the information that I promised them, and then I nurture them forever until something happens. So in other words, now I have their email address. Now I have their phone number. Now I know they've raised their hand because there's something going on in their life. Now I have the ability to reach out to them. And guess what? 70% of the time, somebody wants to do something. So you see, this is what I call selling without selling. I want to drop information on as many people as possible, and I want to have them raise their hand. How hard is that? How hard is it for you to wake up in the morning and find out that 15 people filled out your landing page and opted in for free information, and you were asleep? This happened while you were asleep. You got 15 new people to call today. And if 50% of them turn into something over the next year, that's 7 new clients, ladies and gentlemen. How many new clients did you get today? How many new clients will you get this week? Here's a trap. This is a net. You're throwing a net in the water and you're waking up with 15 new fish in the morning. You understand? And then you could do this through your social media, even if you have no dollars to contribute to running paid ads. You can do this on your social media for free. Last time I checked, Facebook was still free. Instagram, still free. You use it to show people that you went to Disneyland. Why don't you use it to get people to reach out and make some money because of it? It's free, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. They're going to figure out a way to charge us or tax us on Facebook and email and internet. One day they will. It's not going to be free forever. I don't know how or why, but the point is it's free to you right now. So what I offer to do for real estate agents is to do what I call a one-on-one $1 million business makeover. And that's where we come in. My team and I will come and we will descend on your business and rebuild your business. And we build it in the manner that I've been talking about for the last 45 minutes. And that's kind of a done with you, and much of it is done for you. But again, I'm expensive, so you don't need me. I don't come here to just get 50 new clients. I can only take on 5 people at a time. But we rebuild your business top to bottom, and we guarantee the results. So, you know, we know for a fact you'll make an additional $100,000, and that's conservative, just doing what we do. But again, do it for yourself. You saw, I walked you through as much of it as I could in the limited amount of time that I had, but it works. Trust me, it works. It works in Texas. It works in New Hampshire. It works in Southern California. You gotta shift and be a different kind of real estate agent. If you want to know more about the one-on-one $1 million makeover, again, email us at info@darrencampbell.com. Amanda responds within 24 hours, or she's in big trouble, and we'll get back to you. If you're ready to invest in your business, you want to take advantage of this recession. The average recession lasts 19 months, buddy. So we got a couple of years to take advantage of what's in front of us today. In 2 years, it'll be something else and we'll pivot again. But today, the niche that I'm telling you about is what's happening. But if you want to change the way you do business, if you want to modernize your practice, if you want to lever up, then you can talk to us about it. Do it regardless, ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to talk to me or not. Those of you that want to do it fast and want to be up and running and making big money, big changes in 2024, reach out to us at info@darrencampbell.com and we'll tell you how. Ladies and gentlemen, woo, that's a lot. I need some water. You got about 1 million questions here. Let's see. Okay, somebody, I'm going to go to the chat and look at some of the info. Someone says my open house. You want to know about my open house routine? Well, here's what I like to do. Open houses ought to be treated like an event that people are privileged to get into. So I think open houses ought to be short. I think they ought to be 2 hours max. And I think that you ought to have a registration table that blocks the front door. That's the truth. And I don't think anybody should be let in that open house who doesn't register to get in. Number one, that's good for safety. Number two, you owe it to your client to let them know who's come through their home. But most importantly, you owe it to yourself and your business to collect all the information of people who came through that open house for future marketing purposes. I estimate that every open house results in approximately 2 to 3 orphans. And look, the neighbors come through, and I see real estate agents get pissed off because all the neighbors came to see the house. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? The neighbors see that you just listed a property in their neighborhood. And guess what that makes you? The obvious choice for them when it's time for them to sell. So look at the neighbors as your next 10 listings. Don't be mad that the looky-loo neighbors all came to see what furniture and the cleanliness of their neighbor's house is. Celebrate that and get their damn information and market to them forever. It's just a bunch of, those are new leads. How many of the neighbors have a realtor? Very few. Let them in. You better advertise to every neighbor there is. I would go 10 blocks in each direction with an announcement to the neighbors. I want the neighbors to come. Guess what? Let me tell you a quick story. Last story. We listed a $5 million home. Matter of fact, a very famous rapper was renting the home when my client decided to sell it. And we marketed it to the entire neighborhood, right? And the seller at first says, "Oh, I don't want these neighbors just coming through the house." I go, "Yes, you do. You want the neighbors coming through the house because you never know where the buyer is going to come from." So guess what? We did this beautiful twilight open house. And one of the guests who showed up at the open house was a neighbor who lived right at the bottom of the hill. And they said, "Can we talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yeah, sure." They go, "Our son just made partner in the law firm, and the law firm is going to give him 100% financing on a mortgage up to $6 million. And we want him to live up the hill from us because the grandkids will be our neighbors." I go, "Well, bring them over, send them over, call them, tell them get over here right away." Well, the son and daughter-in-law came to the open house. I gave them a personal tour of the home, and they said, "Can we come to your office tomorrow morning?" They came to my office the next morning, and they bought the house full price, 100% financing from the law firm, and we closed 31 days later. You think you shouldn't be telling the neighbors? Don't get upset about the neighbors. Register the neighbors and market to them. You don't know where your next transaction is coming from. So that's what we do. We make everybody sign in, limit the length of time for our open houses, and we funnel them all in at the same time, or as close to the same time as possible. That's my open house system. So I think you should implement that. That's a very good question, by the way. All right. So unless there's any more questions, I have absolutely stretched my time to the maximum. So I'm gonna sign off. I'm gonna thank you, Marianne, for letting me do this. It was fun. I like this. I could talk all day. But if you ever want me back, I'll be happy to come back. You guys, please feel free to give her your feedback, whether you liked me or hated me. I can take it. I can take it. Thanks again, Marianne. Oh, wait. One more question just popped up. I can't read that. What does it say? I don't see it. I see a million comments. Amanda's got to help me, guys. See, I don't even know how to scroll on this thing. Let's see. Hang on. One more question, Marianne. I'm going to answer. Okay. I need glasses for
I
this.
think I found it. I can read it out to you.
Okay, please.
Okay, outside of the amazing marketing information provided today, what would you say tip, tricks, motivation to brand new agents who just came licensed just a month ago? Thank you for your time. You were amazing.
Okay, here's what I suggest. You're a brand new agent. Choose something that's obvious to you, like the neighborhood you live in or your favorite neighborhood, someplace you don't mind spending a lot of time in. And I would declare that my territory. Unless you have another affinity, like if you have, like I know a guy, here's what's funny, let me give you a side story. I'm gonna buy a Ferrari. You wanna know why I'm gonna buy a Ferrari? It's because I wanna join the Ferrari club. Why do I wanna join the Ferrari club? You think those guys got a little money to spend on real estate? Hello, I don't give a damn about a Ferrari, but I wanna be in the club because I'm gonna market to those people. So you could choose a niche that is natural to you. You belong to a certain type of club, farm those people. You live in a certain type of neighborhood, farm that neighborhood. You see how you squeeze the world down to something that's small enough to manage, but obvious enough to make you the expert in it. If I join the Ferrari Club of Beverly Hills here, then I'm going to be one of very few real estate specialists in that club. And guess what? I'm going to be the Ferrari realtor specialist. You see how that works? So if you live in a subdivision in Houston and you're brand new, go and declare yourself the expert in the Galleria district and tell everybody that I am the king of the Galleria district, and go and learn everything there is to know about the Galleria district. Every new business that opens, send out an email blast. Go interview the experts in the neighborhood. Go interview the new shop owner. Go interview the restaurant owner. Put them on your Facebook and say, as the Galleria area specialist, I'm introducing you to the new restaurateur down the street. He just opened. Come on down, join him for some barbecue. I'm your Galleria area expert. Anything you want to know about the Galleria, hit me up. That's how you do it. Choose a niche and dive in. Take it over. How about that, Marianne? That's a good answer, right?
That is an amazing answer. Thank you so much. And thank you again for joining us today. It's been an amazing webinar. I know a lot of people enjoyed it and we're asking all the right questions to you. And as a reminder, we'll be sharing Darren's information via email, the recording, and the PowerPoint. So be on the lookout for that this week. Before I let Darren do the last minute comments, I would like to remind everyone that we have a lot of events and webinars happening in October and November. In October, next week, on the 25th, we have our annual housing symposium. I'll put the link to register for that. It's 3 hours of CE credit, and it is a completely free event. It will be in person. And then next month, we have Doors Open When You Knocked. That is another webinar that is going to help you excel in your real estate career. And then November 15, we have Realtors, Lenders, and the VA loans. This webinar is going to focus on all the affordable housing materials that you need to help veterans be able to purchase a home. And then lastly, because we know tax season is happening soon, we have a class all about taxes, tax reduction strategies for the real estate professionals. So I'll put all those links in the chat. And Darren, do you want to do any last minute comments, any last minute question, we'll be happy to answer those.
Okay, well, this is a final comment. A lot of real estate agents are going to struggle over the next few years. And so I wanted to encourage everybody, stick to it. Remember, less is more. Do less, service less, shrink the crowd that you focus on, specialize in a particular niche or client type, and dive in. Don't quit. It's the greatest profession in the world. I don't know anywhere else you can go without a degree or without a $1 million education, you can make $1 million a year. I've done it. I've seen it done. I've helped a lot of people do it. Stick with it. Thanks for having me. Have a great week.
Thank you. Happy Monday, everyone. You have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.